I'm Scott Stevens, Goldsboro City Manager. We're here for our June update. They roll around pretty fast. Hope your summer is starting well. A couple things to mention. I do want to thank the Dillard alumni. They held their annual event here in Goldsboro at the end of May. A lot of folks coming back to the community, a lot of folks in the community part of that, and I do want to thank them for their support of Goldsboro. They've been a strong supporter for many years, and we welcome and appreciate their efforts. In terms of the City Council and business of the city, probably the biggest news for us is the adoption of our budget for our next fiscal year. It's our fiscal year 2013-2014 budget. Our year begins July 1st of 2013 and runs through June 30th of 2014. Our budget does total $52 million, or just over $52 million. There is no tax or utility fee increase. There's $250,000 for street resurfacing next year. And I just would tell position-wise, we have 441 full-time positions with the city, but that is 40 positions less than we had just 4 years ago. So we're doing much of the same things with fewer people. And I just want the community to know I do appreciate our employees and their efforts, but we are trying to serve you with less people and not let you see the impact of that. The budget message and the budget itself is available online. At this point, it'll be a recommended budget. We will change that to the adopted budget, but they're very similar, and you can see that at the city's homepage. So you can look at our website. There does have a tab for our recommended budget, and that is very close to what the council adopted at their June 3rd meeting. If you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to contact me in the manager's office. We've also talked an awful lot about our Tiger Grant, or spent the last month. We've talked with council in May. Our staff's worked on it. We did submit the Tiger Grant June 3rd. It includes Union Station, the rehabilitation of that, the inclusion of our Gateway Bus Transfer Center, the balance of the funding that is needed for that, and then a number of blocks of streetscape, including Center Street, Walnut Street, and a portion of Carolina Avenue that we would improve to connect those facilities to our downtown. The project cost total $21.9 million. We're requesting $16.5 million in grant funds from the Tiger funding, and then $5.4 million in local funding. So we expect to hear something before September of this year, so we ought to know a yes or a no to that grant application within the next few months. I think we have a very good grant application. I think our staff's put a lot of time and effort into that, but I also know the requests and the competitiveness with other communities across the country will be a challenge as well. So I think we've submitted a good project, and we're very optimistic for it to be funded, but we should know that in the coming months. In part of meeting a portion of the grant, you do need to have shovel-ready project. The Streetscape Project, at least the blocks of Center Street, are currently under design. We've held public meetings early in the month of June to discuss just some issues of widening the existing sidewalks versus replacing the existing sidewalks. They'd all be at the same slope, and they'd all be the same width at the end, but do we leave the current brick sidewalk that's there and extend it, or do we replace it all with new? Construction of sidewalk in the median, as we did at the first block at City Hall, do we do that in the next 2 or 3 blocks? And then the installation of roundabouts. One was proposed at Walnut and Center Street. Do we do more roundabouts or no roundabouts? And some of the pros and cons were discussed with roundabouts, meaning better traffic flow, but you lose a few more parking spaces in your downtown area. And the cost is about the same to whether we have signalized intersection without wires versus the roundabout. The construction costs are very similar there. But that's the discussion that's gone on in early June. We'll have a recommendation that we expect to take to City Council at their June 17th meeting so that we can move on with the completed and finalize our design and have our bid specs ready by late summer so that we put that project out to bid if funding becomes available. Do want to mention hurricane season. Goldsboro is not a coastal town, but we still feel the impacts from hurricanes, and it is time-wise, June 1st through November 30th is hurricane season. The North Carolina Emergency Management recommends a number of things for all of us to be prepared, and it's easier to get prepared ahead of the storm rather than days ahead of the storm. So if you'll go ahead and make plans to know where you'll be and how your family will function during a hurricane. But North Carolina Emergency Management recommends that we update homeowners insurance policies and make sure that you have the right coverage for damage, natural disasters, and flooding if necessary. They also recommend that families should be prepared, have a plan and emergency supply kit ready, and the kit should contain enough non-perishable food and a gallon of water per person per day. And you should be prepared to sustain your family for a period of 3 to 7 days is the recommendation from our state. So I would encourage you to visit their website, www.readync.org. Again, we'll share that information, but it's www.readync.org. for more information on what you should include in your emergency kit. But those are things that we ought to be preparing for ahead of time. And you need to not forget pets. Oftentimes when you evacuate to a shelter, pets are not allowed there. So you need to think about where your pets would go or how you would feed your pets or take care of them in addition to your family. So preparation is key when a disaster comes. And again, so June 1st and November 30th, and we would encourage all of our residents to make adequate preparations for your family. City Council did discuss at their recent meeting an offer that they had on the building at Spence Ash, the former Arts Council building. We did receive a bid or an offer to purchase that site for $500,000. The City Council did not accept that offer to purchase, I guess primarily because we have it under contract to remove the building and clear the site, and that should be done within the next 60 days, so by the end of July. And we expect that once the site is cleared, we'll generate some additional interest in the hopes of generating more or larger offer than the $500,000 that was received. So we'll see, time will tell on that, but that's where we are at this point, and I believe the council has a good rationale behind their decision to delay the acceptance of an offer to purchase on that property. I also want to talk about our Goldsboro Partnership Against Crime. Again, it's this initiative we've talked about a number of times in which we call in the violent offenders within our community and tell them the rules are different for them. And so we're working on a program where we're calling in 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 at a time, maybe 2 to 3 meetings a year. We held our first one in March. And while we can't change the rules for everyone, we can change the rules for this group. And the hope is that we can encourage this group to make a choice not to commit any future violent crimes. And the community resources will be there to help support them, but also to put them on notice that if they don't make that choice to change their lifestyle, that the next violent offense they have, they will move to the front of the line of the criminal justice system. And in other parts of the state, and we've talked about High Point a lot, this has been extremely successful at reducing violence within the community. In High Point, they've called in over 1,000 of their most violent offenders over the past 15 to 20 years, a few at a time. Over 900 of those have not had another violent offense. And so if we have anything like that success record of 90% of the violent offenders in a community not reoffending again, we would be very, very excited about that. I expect we'll have good results. Again, we held our first call-in March. We have another one scheduled for July 16th, so I want to commend our police department and Sergeant Chero in particular, but would ask any of you that would like to be involved. Information is available on the city's website, or to call my office and we'd get you plugged in with Sergeant Chero. And so if you want to be part of it or understand more about it, we'd like to share that with you. Would also want to share with you that our new bus logoing as part of that is all part of this same, trying to have a consistent message within the community to make sure that those that might commit a violent offense know there are some significant and serious consequences if you choose to continue violence against others. And again, so you'll see we've installed this as of June 2nd. These were installed on our gateway buses, the large buses that run within the city. And so you'll see that messaging throughout the community for the months to come. But it's all part of that same Project Safe Neighborhood and our GPAC program. So any other thoughts or ideas you have on that, we'd be happy to talk with you or come speak to groups about it or try to make sure you understand what we're doing and why. We've also talked about an animal control ordinance a number of times, I guess early spring, really trying to address feral dogs and cats. There are problems in certain neighborhoods, and trying to help our police department better capture these animals. And part of that ordinance was a fine if you were feeding animals. So we're trying to get it so not to starve the animals to death, but the idea that if you're feeding them or residents are feeding these animals, that when we set traps to catch them with food, they don't enter our traps because they're not hungry. So again, that ordinance I think will come back to the City Council June 17th. We've had a number of discussions with groups that came out saying they were able to help support these efforts without us fining residents. We've also had some requests from residents who say the problem continues to be a significant problem in their neighborhoods, and so we've tried to work with both groups to have a balance. And although the ordinance may say that we would levy those fines, it would still be complaint driven. We're not out actively seeking those that are feeding an animal without a home, but where there are problems in a neighborhood and residents are complaining, we do try to trap those animals and carry them to the SPCA and let them handle the animals in a humane way. So that is to come back before our council, and I believe it will be on their June 17th agenda. I want to mention our assistant manager position. As you know, Tasha Logan left us last month and has gone to work for the city of Rocky Mount. Really sorry to lose Tasha. I think it's a great opportunity for her, and I'm happy for her. Sad for Goldsboro. We are accepting applications for this position through the end of June, so if you have an interest in the position, it's posted on our website, and we are accepting applications through June 30th. Likely be August or September before we would fill that position, but if you have an interest, now's the time. Activities within the community. There is a lot going on within the Goldsboro community over the summer. Probably it's a busy time in particular for our Parks and Recreation Department. And I would tell you our website's a great place to go, or our DGDC downtown website, as well as Parks and Recreation's website, or you can call Parks and Recreation for anything related to your children and where you'd like to have them. So I would encourage you to do that and make sure you get involved in what's going on within the community. The final thing I'd like to share with you today is I did have a large staff meeting with what I consider our leadership and administrative support. It's approximately 70 employees with the City of Goldsboro. And part of the message focuses on customer service and perceptions. We have a lot of great employees. We work hard to serve the community and do our jobs each and every day. But if something doesn't look right to you, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I'm sure there would be a reasonable explanation for it, but I'd much rather you call than wonder why we were doing this or why we were doing that, and make sure I get the right information to you so that you can understand, or if there's something we need to address with an employee, we will. We do have a great staff. We are ready to serve, so please call on us when we can help, and call me if you've had a good experience or not so good experience. And we'll be happy to share both of those with our staffs and make sure we're adjusting appropriately. Again, thank you for listening. If I can be of service, please don't hesitate to contact me.